2003, FM 156, Haslet, Texas. And I'm here to speak on behalf and to commend Councilwoman Marilyn Broyles. I have to start over. I would like to commend Councilwoman and Mayor Pro Tem Marilyn Broyles for her dedication and involvement on the Haslet City Council. She has shown the epitome of tenacity in her efforts to research and support all things good for Haslet. One example is very few people took the time to read and study the entire 100 pages of the Haslet FM speed zoning study, but Marilyn did. That's who she is. She has been an inspiration to the citizens, and we thank you for all of the time and hard work you have put in over the last 2 years. We look forward to your continued involvement in the city of Haslet. I am proud to call you friend. Thank you.
Do we have any other speakers? Ms. Keene. And thank you, Ms. Halsey.
Hello, Joette Keene, 1410 Poppy Drive, Haslet, Texas. I want to speak tonight about my observations on the service of Councilwoman Broyles, as this is her last regular City Council meeting. I met Mrs. Broyles a few years ago, prior to her running for City Council. Since then, I've become a good friend. But that's not what has influenced me to come and speak to you tonight. I want to be clear about that. I'm going to use math to speak my thoughts. As you may know, Councilwoman Broyles has been a long-time high-level math teacher. But my math is simple: percentages. Let's look at what Councilwoman Broyles has done, looking from 0% to 100%. When Councilwoman Broyles ran unopposed 2 years ago, she could have easily contributed 0% effort and stepped into City Council. But she contributed 100% effort because she believed it was important that the citizens of Haslet knew her background and views about what was important for Haslet. She personally walked neighborhoods and set up several opportunities to speak with citizens to hear their concerns. She also produced professional materials to provide her information at her own expense. Number 2, when nominated as Mayor Pro Tem, Councilwoman Broyles could have viewed it as an honorary title and put in 100% or 0% and accepted it just as a title role. But not Mrs. Broyles. She put in 100%. She attended DRC meetings on a regular basis to understand issues, decisions, and recommendations being discussed for the city. I am 100% sure that Councilwoman Broyles wanted to be well-versed and able to anticipate issues facing the city. She researched Texas law, spoke to other cities for insight on certain topics, investigated legislature in state sessions that could impact Haslet, and brought those forward. Just some examples. Yep, 100%. Number 3, engagement with the mayor on important topics. Again, 100% effort. Councilwoman Broyles has had consistent meetings with the mayor to keep on top of issues and activities ongoing for Haslet. For example, I know Councilwoman Broyles was very supportive of the ball field improvements, 100%, as she wants this to be a reflection of Haslet's commitment to youth sports. Another 100% view is the importance of a professional appearance of all areas of Haslet, so we are viewed as a premier community. A neat city is a reflection of its citizens. And let's not forget her 100% commitment to safety for Haslet citizens, whether it be roads or additional police presence. And finally, let's think about council meetings. Many times there is extensive material to review for the meeting. It was absolutely obvious that Councilwoman Broyles spent time to be 100% informed on the items under discussion and has spoken with her own view based on what she learned through community solicitation or aligned with a positive vision for Haslet. At times, this may have differed from the mayor or her other council members, but Councilwoman Broyles was courageous and spoke to what she believed to be in the best interest of the city and citizens. In my opinion, having watched years of council meetings, she has been the most prepared I've ever seen at every meeting. I personally want to thank Councilwoman Broyles for setting the bar for what it means to be an exceptional city council member. Thank you for your 100% service on behalf of our citizens. Well done.
Thank you, Ms. Keene. Do we have other speakers? And do we have anybody online who would like to address the council? This citizen will like to reiterate that, and you'll be sorely missed. And I'll tell you, as Mayor Pro Tem, I've worked with, over my tenure, off and on, over a number of years, is 12 different councils. And by far, you've been a confidant, someone I can share with. And did we always agree 100%? No, but as the consummate professional, you did respect my opinion. And I thank you so very much for that. And yes, the mayor does need someone to talk to about these matters. And that's what the Mayor Pro Tem does. And you did it so very well. You encouraged me and set a bar for me. And would the Mayor Pro Tem give me a spanking once in a while? Yes. And you're not moving fast enough. Very few people. Marilyn is the type of individual that carries this attitude. It's amazing how much you can do or get done if you don't care about who gets the credit. That was Marilyn Brewer. Thank you so very much. Items of community interest. We have a special city council meeting May 14th. The council will canvass the vote from the May 4th general election and special election returns and administer the oath of office and statement of officer to our returning council people and welcome a new council person. Brush and limb drop-off day is May 18th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Haslet Public Works Department. I'm hoping after, maybe 30 years of habit, people are reading this and don't show up at the fire station. Don't show up at the fire station, please. And we should have a sign out there, go 718 Schoolhouse Road, which is the entrance to the Public Works. And they're all prepared for the new site. Memorial Day celebration is Monday, May 27th, 2024 at 10 a.m. at the Haslet Community Park Veterans Memorial Garden. And I was just over there today, and it looks very nice. Very nice. Again, Memorial Day, Monday, May 27th, all city house offices will be closed in observance of Memorial Day. 5E is Kids Fire Camp, the Haslet Fire Department on Saturday, June 8th, for ages 8 to 15. will be, there's advanced registration required, but they'll be having their kids fire camp. Very good program that Kurt and our firemen put on. 5F, Haslet is hiring. We have the following positions open, but I am really happy to announce that of those 4 positions that you see, we're making offers to 3 of them here in the within the next day or 2. So that's a great thing. I'll tell you, probably for every one we find to make offer to, there was probably 20 interviews involved. Literally, they interviewed that much. So we're not looking for horticulturist, but it's just good help that will fit the group, and they have capabilities and talents to offer. Good job, Mr. Tucker. Updates on active items and projects and events. Haslet Parkway and city properties mowing contract. Mr. Tucker.
Mayor and council, we have, I've finished the contract documents and we're ready to place that out for bid. We're going to have those documents sent to Mr. Page for review, and pending his acceptance, we'll be going out for bid with that, and in a short amount of time, we should hopefully award a contract. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Tucker? Very good. Haslet Emergency Medical Services, EMS. And with that, I've mentioned it in the past that there was changes coming in EMS, but this has been, I'll say, about a year-long road. And Chief Mays is in the middle of it, along with me, and he's a little bit closer to it, boots on the ground with that organization. But the city of Fort Worth, back in, I think, 1987, actually started this emergency medical services for the city of Fort Worth, which ended up encompassing all smaller cities around it, that they voluntarily joined through interlocal agreements. And eventually it became known as MedStar. But in recent time, particularly over the last year and maybe some months preceding that, the effectiveness of MedStar and the board that controls MedStar, so the board, the governance of MedStar and the ambulance service itself, had been questioned and data analyzed. And in short, there were improvements that could be noticed that were needed. In pursuit of that, City of Fort Worth hired a national consulting firm that specializes in nothing but emergency medical services, and called Fitch and Associates, and they did a very thorough analysis, and that if you downloaded that was part of what was provided. And there were long study and lots of deliberation, of which Haslet was involved in, both at the fire department level, many different meetings Chief Mace has attended, many different meetings that I have attended, both with with Fort Worth, at everything from council members to the mayor to assistant city managers and other cities, their mayors and their administrators. Where this has led all parties involved, there were 4 options out of all of that were showcased, and it was option 2. Option 2 provides governance of it would report to the city council of the city of Fort Worth. Now, it is fire-based, meaning that this program will be under the fire department. And there would be an EMS director that would report to the chief of Fort Worth City Fire Department, Mr. Jim Davis. And he reports directly to the city council. Actually, the city manager, then to the city council. And the cost benefit of that was agreed to by all parties. If there is a holdout, each member city has the option to go with this or not, that this was the best option. I will tell you, in the course of all this, there were other meetings where all the cities, smaller cities, met without Fort Worth. What are other options that we could take? I will tell you that MedStar did that analysis themselves, the chief executive officer and his team. And it laid out that what that cost would be, annual cost. And to Haslet, it would mean approximately $1.5 million a year, because all those smaller cities, which represent 10% of the total demand. Fort Worth, the city of Fort Worth, demand for this EMS service is 90%. They carry a huge financial burden under these different options. In option 2, I believe, using round numbers, the city of Fort Worth's financial annual contribution be approximately $10 million. Haslet's annual contribution would be approximately $32,000. So it was not a hard decision. Do we buy our own ambulances and hire our own paramedics and EMTs at approximately $1.5 million a year? Or do we take advantage in the economy of scale and the services that we've enjoyed, and over the many years in cooperation with the city of Fort Worth, and instead of 1.5, it's at 32,000. One of the things all the member cities, I'll say, struggled with is that for many years, 15 or more, no municipalities paid a dime for this service. MedStar was able to do this, collecting insurance premiums for that service, or also doing what they call interfacility transfers, and that's hospital to hospital or other agencies. And they would earn revenue off of that. But in recent years, especially after COVID, that was not a sustainable model, and they started reaching out and needing funding. But that's really what opened the door towards this detailed analysis. Overall, right now, our current response time, there are two measures that are used. Well, many different measures, but one that's most directly affected to the end user, which is that person who needs to get transported, is there's 2 terms. One is total response time, and the other is drive time. So what's the difference? The difference being response time is that moment they get the call, and then that they're at your place of residence to transport you. Drive time is once they're in that ambulance and they hit the road and it takes to get to you. Currently, the overall response time is around 15.5 minutes. The drive time is 13.5 minutes. Now, yes, traffic, population is all added to this, but the Fort Worth program and the analysis and these options and this option 2 is going to be based on not a 13.5 minute drive time, but an 8-minute drive time. So that's significant improvement. That is a matter of brain damage. If you're having some type of event that's preventing blood flow, it can be life or death, but also not knowing what these are, they will be prepared to respond adequately and almost 50% faster. So that's, without getting into lots of details, that is the sum of this effort. Chief, is there anything you want to add?
No, I think you summarized it well, Mayor. The ad hoc committee meeting will be presenting this plan to Fort Worth City Council in a workshop tomorrow. And then Wednesday, we have another member city meeting. And then on May 15th is when Fort Worth City Council would officially approve or deny the project. So we're almost across the finish line, but the summary was correct.
Very good. Well, thank you. It just amazed me. I remember back in the early 2000s, Haslet did contribute to the MedStar program, but it was on a buy-down program. The Haslet paid a certain amount to buy down what the patient would be charged, the Haslet resident would be charged on their insurance. And that went away after a few years. But then Haslet and every other member city, including Fort Worth, enjoyed a no-cost service. And I've been, how can we expect, we don't think twice of a couple $1 million to have a fire department, an annual cost. And fact is, we don't know what they're going to do tomorrow or what's going to happen, but they're there when we need them. And the same thing with the ambulance service. So this will be a very good deal for Haslet. And I know all of the leaders and the administrators in Fort Worth, and it will be under excellent guidance and oversight. Do you have any questions for me, Council?
I do. I heard everything. I think everything sounds good. I just have one question, and everything seems to be floating through Fort Worth and accountability. Is there going to be any feedback to the ancillary towns?
Yes, sir. There will be a board, and member cities will have, the member cities will elect one person. And that one person from that member city will sit on that board of, the what do they call it? An advisory board to levy any complaint or make any note of deference or to give a thumbs up or any comment at all.
Will there be, like what you just mentioned, metrics and that type of thing that you're going to keep an eye on to actually see how they're responding to these smaller cities as well as Fort Worth?
Yes, sir. Part of that is constructing their database and measurable metrics, response times, drive times, and probably other many different pieces of information that such as fire departments use. You got anything you want to add to that as far as metrics? All right.
I'm good. Thank you.
I did have one question. I kind of wanted to know in option 2, and then there's 2A, what is the difference between a sworn and a civilian personnel?
So in the fire department, the sworn is where you're actually a certified firefighter. And so you can ride on the fire truck. And where the options was, did we want to have dual certified where you're medically trained and you're fire certified trained? So one day I ride the fire truck, the next day I ride the ambulance. That's the dual row provider. And that was a sworn person. But for them to try to get 200 paramedics that are fire certified, that was going to be a challenge. And we already got a lot of people that are good at their job and want to do it. So they're going to have the opportunity to apply, and they would be on the civilian side. But what they did, what they're going to be presenting to council is they're going to put them under the civil service because it gives them better protection. The way Chief Davis talked about it is if a fireman, policeman, an ambulance person was on the highway doing a car wreck and somebody went and killed all three, the fire and the police are going to get some state benefits that the ambulance person wouldn't because they're not under civil service and under a certain side. So that was all part of some of the processes of putting them together, but they will be able to be just a paramedic only, and they don't ride fire trucks.
So that would be the civilian, the certified paramedic.
That's the civilian side. Yes, that's the single row provider,
Okay.
but they are going to be civil service, which
Okay.
just gives them benefits.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So they do make a differentiation, you know, there's 2 and the 2A. 2 is a pure civilian. They would be an employee of City of Fort Worth, and they get standard benefits. 2A is, okay, they are civilians in that they're not sworn firefighters. That's the key differentiation. And that 2A would be they are civil service, so they would get those benefits, state benefits, as would fire and police. I'm good with either one of them, you know. So is Fort Worth, and but they will probably, I suspect they will come down on the civil service. It's more attractive. Other questions? Well, that's our update. Here in the near future, we will be bringing that interlocal agreement that we'll have to execute. There's features in this where we would get the standard, you know, the ILA interlocal agreement, and it's all going to be based on the 8-minute drive time. Maybe add 2 or 3 minutes as far as total response.
Yeah, part of the way they chose to do the math is unit hour utilization. So they actually said, okay, they know that it's like $179 is what it costs to run a call. Then they took the total unit hours from the time that they were dispatched to a call in Haslet till they were clear of the hospital. And so then that equaled so many hours. And so that's how they chose the call, how much money it costs to run call in an hour and how many true hours were here. Because one of the cities brought up, well, what happens, Fort Worth's got all this growth, or other cities have growth, it's going to add that. Are we paying for them? And this was one of the ways that the group talked with, and in the meetings and the mayors and stuff, looked at and evaluated. So that's how they're coming up with our price. It's just actual time in our city.
So it's the actual point of service per municipality.
So, I mean, basically reading through all this, the overall cost between 2 or 2A is relative, it's minimal. I mean, it's fraction, the pennies practically there. But with the service, changing from, MedStar to the City of Fort Worth, and they're not looking at any kind of reductions in where they have vehicles stationed, or it's basically just going to swap out kind of ownership.
No,
of
that was
vehicles.
part of the whole analysis that got them down to this final number was how much was there duplication of services that city government already had and could provide, And that would help lower the overall cost to operate. I mean, I think it's a $60 or $65 million operation, and there's a way to lower some overhead by sharing a service, if that makes sense.
But also increase efficiency with regard to that difference between response time and drive time. One example being the call center. The MedStar had its own call center, and it had to go through 2 or 3, coordinate once someone calls, then 2 or 3 folks would have to, or entities would pass that on down the line. With this program, there'll be one call center. So there's efficiency in time and money.
There's a lot to be figured out on the in the weeds of how all this is going to work, but from the big picture perspective, that's all been factored in. And the fact that they are working right now to get an interim plan of how to get dispatch in one spot, because we still get bounced around. And as the mayor said, that's the difference between travel time is when we get told to go, but you still got all that dispatch processing time and the passing of the phone to the police, to the ambulance, to the fire. The first responder was the last person to be told to go, and we can't have that. So they're working towards that.
I have received some questions during the day. One of them is, and I need to mention this. Someone calls, 911, I'm in trouble, I need help, a medical issue. Okay. The first one on the scene in Haslet, Texas is our fire department. All our firemen are trained. They're the dual role, what we call dual role. They're a firefighter, and also an EMT or paramedic. They are the first one on the scene, and that's why we call them the first responder. They're going to come in and assist and stabilize. Then, under the present scenario, in about 15.5 minutes, the ambulance will show up. But also they have that opportunity. No, it wasn't a heart attack. They stubbed their toe. You don't need to come. They can make that call and make that ambulance available somewhere else. So that's why I just wanted to point that out. Always, our fire department, they are the first responder, and that is why they are called so, the first responder. And I will also say that Tarrant County Sheriff's officers assist in that role as well. So we have a great program.
One last question, just based upon what we just heard too. And again, it's probably more of a question for you, Chief, is the aspect of mass casualty event. If we actually do have something like that, is that something that still needs to be worked out? Because Fort Worth is a bigger piece of this.
I guess I'm really trying to follow the true question. I mean, essentially, they're going to have, because of the way I keep saying the way it's being restructured, they're trying to get the unit utilization hours down below 50%, so that their time on task is not go, 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 go. That's what's burning the people out. And so by not doing these interfacility transfers, they're taking those hours and it's given more to the 911 side. So we're going to essentially have more ambulances covering our area, which is just resources available in the event of a mass casualty. And again, Fort Worth will have mutual aid partners, Eagle Mountain Ambulance, Roanoke, Justin, all of those will be able to assist in the event of a MCI.
This interfacility transfer, that is a hospital to hospital. Nothing about an EMS call. There's no emergency. It's just a service. It was a revenue stream that MedStar was using to fund the rest of the program. Any other questions? All right then. Item 7 is consent agenda. We have approval of the April 15, 2024 regular council meeting minutes. Council, do you have any questions? And I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for the April 15th, 2024 regular city council meeting.
Motion is made to approve the minutes of the April 15th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you, council. Item 8, public hearing ordinances, resolution, and action items. First, I would like to take item 8C because Sergeant Lamunion is here. And we don't know if he'll get called at any time soon. So, and I would like for Mayor Pro Tem, and just to make a disclaimer why to Mayor Pro Tem present this, this was Mayor Pro Tem's idea months ago. Please. You can go ahead and present the item, just in general, what it was, what it's doing, and then,
Okay. First, I'd like to thank you for the kind comments that you made, and I want to say that it's been a privilege and an honor to serve the citizens of Haslet. A few months ago, well, it's been more than a few months ago, this council approved funds to hire traffic deputies, and we have not been able to do that. And I was very concerned, as well as other citizens were concerned, that we needed more coverage in the city of Haslet. So I approached the mayor about possibly it would be better to have a full-time patrol deputy versus a traffic deputy. And that would give us more coverage, and if that would be possible. And so I believe the mayor talked to Officer Lamunion, and he agreed that that would probably be easier to do than to hire 2 new traffic deputies. So with that, I will turn it over to Officer Lamunion.
Greater level of coverage through the day and through the night. And from a traffic standpoint, the traffic is so congested through here, especially at both rush hours. We didn't think it would be as effective to have traffic deputies as it would more patrol deputies. With the increased building of homes and residences in here, we're seeing a shift from traffic-based policing to domestic disturbances, thefts, burglaries, things like that. And if we had more coverage from a patrol standpoint, we think that we would have more control over it. So in looking at the logistics of it from a personnel standpoint, Tarrant County Sheriff's Office, Fort Worth PD, every police agency right now still remains challenged as far as recruiting goes. There's more people retiring and resigning than there are people coming into the academy. An example, we normally field 7 to 10 people in 2 annual academies. Up until this academy right now, we've been lucky to have 2 to 4, and of, let's say we had 4, maybe 2 would finish. That's where the challenge has been as far as staffing additionally in Haslet and staffing in our district units. Right now, we have 9 people in the academy that started 2 weeks ago. And the mayor and I, when we looked at it, we're looking at a finish date for those people, probably September, October. That's assuming they finish the academy, they finish their 17 weeks of field training. That would give us enough personnel to add 2 more deputies. And then we looked at the scheduling with the 12-hour shifts. The mayor's idea when we discussed it was to have 2 people, 2 deputies, 24/7. And with the 12-hour shifts, going from 6 that we currently have to 8 almost gets us there. In the discussion he brought up, what would happen if we had 10? That definitely would, with the 12-hour shifts. I don't think we could get to 10 in September. I think the next step would be at 8.
very good. I would like to add the budget that we have for the 2 traffic deputies will cover the cost of these 2 units. for the 24/7. In fact, I expect a savings. Reason being, it is the mileage attributed to a patrol deputy versus to a traffic deputy. If you look at that ILA, you'll see that there's about a 50% increase in mileage on a traffic deputy versus a patrol deputy. And maybe I'm giving away a secret there that I don't want Tarrant County to know about. But anyway, is that that's potentially where that savings would come, and I would expect maybe in the neighborhood of $32,000 annual savings. What I will tell you that if should you agree to do this, that in the coming budget year, there will be an additional request, and so I'm giving Sergeant Lamunion a heads up. We will be requesting 2 more.
I think it's doable. See, I get an email at the end of every month from Tarrant County Finance asking how many traffic deputies we deployed, how much court overtime, and how much jail time on Class C warrants. But since last year's contract, it's been 0 every month because we haven't deployed any traffic deputies. The Tarrant County Jail, like all jails in the state right now, are not confirming on Class C warrants because the jails are so full. And I don't know if y'all understand, a Class C warrant is if any of the deputies in Haslet write a traffic citation and the people do not show up for court, a warrant is issued for their arrest. It's a Class C warrant. Well, with the beginning of COVID, all that went away. The warrants are still active, but most agencies are not confirming on them. The only time we do is, let's say we have a domestic disturbance somewhere in Haslet. Maybe it's verbal, maybe it looks like the violence may continue after we leave. We do confirm on a Class C warrant. The person has a Class C warrant just to get them away from the household. But I think 2 come September is doable.
Very good. Thank you so much. Council, do you have any questions? Either Sergeant Lamunion or myself, or actually Mayor Pro Tem? Or Sergeant Lamunion?
Yeah, so just to be clear, the 2 traffic patrol officers was $380,000 budgeted, but the 2 patrol deputy officers are looking at $348,000. That's where you're getting the savings.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Thank you.
correct.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, any words on this?
Well, that was, we'll add the 348,000.
Your mind.
The 348,000 would cover a full year salary, and
That's
we only
correct.
have 5 months left in this budget year, calendar year. So if we could hire somebody tomorrow, we would have plenty of money for that budget.
Oh, absolutely. This last group we had in the academy, 4 made it through the academy. All 4 went to field training. Field training is 17 weeks where they're riding with, driving with, and being trained in the field. And then they go to 2 weeks in what's called a ghost phase. They're allowed out there by themselves, they answer calls, and they're ghosted by a field training officer or a supervisor. Well, those 4, only 2 made it through the FTO phase. And we're still currently, from a patrol standpoint, we're down about 18 positions right now. And you look at Fort Worth, they're down about 240. So,
Officer Lamunion, I do have a question for you. Is it possible for somebody to transfer over to Haslet that's already employed in another area?
yes,
So once they find out there's an opening here for a patrol deputy, they could put in for a transfer to Haslet?
yes. We do an annual shift bid, patrol division-wise. It's North Patrol, South Patrol, and every position, including the city of Haslet, city of Edgecliff Village, where we have a similar contract, they're all put up there, and by seniority, everybody bids. Same with supervisors, sergeants, lieutenants, and deputies. And with the growth of Haslet, it's become an attractive place for some of our people to bid that shift. And the attraction to them as well is all the deputies compete with each other from the standpoint of vacations. We do the same thing with a vacation bid. But those in Haslet only bid against each other, the other Haslet deputies, so it's less confining for them when they're looking for vacation leave. The upside is we're seeing some of the senior people, like Deputy Connell on the day shift here in Haslet. He came from, I believe he was a lateral transfer from Hearst Police Department, and he has 7-8 years experience, so we're seeing more experienced people interested in working in Haslet because it's more of a urban or city setting that they're used to. So
And when does that bidding process take place?
usually around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
It takes place around Thanksgiving and goes into effect the first payroll period in January.
So I guess the question would be is if this ILA gets amended, would there be any chance of getting the additional deputies before the next fiscal year?
Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're still down, we're still trying to fill 18 positions. All the Haslet spots are full. The 6 are full right now. So, but we're still short 18 patrol division, across the patrol division. And we've got, see, in addition to patrol, we have a warrants division, we have a criminal investigation division. Anybody across those divisions can put in for transfers to patrol. And if somebody's specifically interested in Haslet, they can do that.
You know, one of the things, I'll just give a plug for Haslet and also thank the council for that, is, you know, we are doing this expansion project, fire department, administrative offices, but also within there, we're building a very dedicated area with a controlled entry for the sheriff deputies only. It gives them office space, locker rooms, their dedicated showers, facilities, and things of that nature. Because yes, when they tackle some of these bad guys, they need a place to clean up. They need a place to write their report, and some place that they can call home base. And to just make Haslet a little more attractive. That was the reason for it. And we look forward to when that's finished. But thank you very much. You do, and your deputies do an excellent job. We're very fortunate to have an organization like Tarrant County Sheriff Office serve Haslet.
Anybody has anything else, feel free to call or contact me.
I do want to say, here's the process. Okay, I brought this to the council first. Would you be in favor of making this change? Now, next step, if you were to say yes, my next step is actually contacting the Tarrant County Administrator's Office, actually Chief Canis. I will send this to Chief Canis, Chief Deputy Canis, and he will advance it to actually get this changed, and eventually it would go to the Tarrant County Commissioner's Court, and where they would get their approval, and then we would sign, and then it's done. So I was not going to put it into Tarrant County and ask all of this if the council was not in favor of making this move. So please.
the question would be is, do we have to make a motion on this one? Or
Yes, you do.
Yeah, okay.
That you are in favor of what I'm asking is that we would take in front of you go to the next page, please, down. These 2 positions that are traffic deputies. You see at the very top of the page for traffic services, that we will delete that portion, where we delete and redirect those funds to the page above, to at the very top, to patrol services.
Mayor
Yeah.
Halsey, oh, continue.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Are you ready for a motion?
I'm finished.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to revise the fiscal year 2024 City of Haslet Policing Services Contract to ILA with Tarrant County for the purpose of adding an additional 24/7 patrol deputy in lieu of traffic deputies. Do I need to say two?
Yes.
So two additional 24/7 patrol deputy in lieu of the two traffic deputies.
Motion is made to authorize the mayor to pursue revising the fiscal 2024 City of Haslet Policing Services Contract ILA with Tarrant County for the purpose of adding an additional two deputies, for 24/7 patrol deputies in lieu of traffic deputies. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I'll second.
There is a second. Any further discussion? I will mention that the contract, the ILA, will be brought back to the council for approval. Yes, I just wanted to make a mention for the vote. So I'll call for any further discussion. I call for the vote. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council. Thank you, Sergeant Lemunion. All right, let's go to item 8A. Discuss, consider, and act regarding an appeal of denied vendor's permit to locate a vending unit on property located at 1345 FM 156 to operate as Sugar Rush State Ice LLC. Is Mr. Thetford here? There he is.
Thank you, Mayor Council. This should be a familiar item. We've spoke with this regarding this item for the past several years now, at least 3 that I can recall. To sum this up, Mahaley Mack with Sugar Rush Shaved Ice she has obtained a vendor's permit to locate her vending trailer at 1345 FM 156. This is just south of the Dollar General site. She is currently there now. That permit is valid. One of the aspects that she is asking for is to leave the unit overnight, which that is contrary to our vending regulations. We do not allow that. One of the avenues of relief for anybody aggrieved of such decision is to appeal this decision to the city council and allow them to make a decision whether to allow this, essentially a variance request, to leave the unit on site. Applicant is here tonight if you have any questions for them, and I'll entertain any questions you may have for me.
Very good. I'd just like to remind the council, historically, this has been approved. This is an annual request that the vendor has to come and make to leave the unit overnight, and has been in the past, it's been approved. But please, Mr. Thetford or the applicant, any questions you may have?
Yes, I have a question, Mayor Halsey. So I voted against this last year, and for the same reason, I'm having a problem this year with it. Not that I don't support it, and I think it's nice to have it during the summertime. But since we did this last year, when the Sugar Rush wasn't in that place, another unit did go in there. I think it was a taco vendor. And in addition to that, there was another taco vendor that went into where the gas station was.
Right.
And so with Sugar Rush, there will then will the other vendor be able to go in there also at the same piece of property? And then if we give Sugar Rush a variance on this ordinance, does it set a precedent that if it's requested by these other vendors, would we also have to give them, since we set a precedence?
To answer the first part of the question, so this is where she's going to be located at 1345 FM 156. Is actually a separate parcel of land than where the taco truck is set up. They're at 1395, I believe it is.
There has been a taco truck set up where Sugar Rush was been there by the Dollar General.
Yeah,
This past year.
yeah. There's
several
essentially
times.
So you have Dollar General, then there's a piece of property right in
And
between
at the gas
two.
station.
Right.
So there were 2 different ones.
Yeah. So you have a little parcel of land right in between Dollar General and the strip center over there. That's where Sugar Rush wants to set up, the taco truck will actually be set up on a different piece of property. It's right next door to it, but it's got a different address.
So if they ask for a variance, then if we give Sugar Rush a variance, would we have to give them one also?
That's probably better addressed by Mr. Page.
Correct.
So each request is individualized, and so it's an assessment you all have to make on each request. And so typically with variances, it's about a hardship that is specific to the requester. And so there's precedent to a certain extent, but also it does remain, individualized as to each request. And so if there's specific reasoning for this one, that would be something that you all could consider. And that may not necessarily be the same case for other people requesting the same variance.
All right, then, it may be appropriate that the applicant come up and address the council and her reason for request.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Second time? Okay. Hello. I understand this is a case-by-case situation. For 2 previous years, you guys have approved us to be able to park in that location, and it is a separate lot than the taco truck that parks in that central area. I'm asking for a variance request because I do feel like it creates a hardship for me to be able to get the trailer attached. Basically, I'm attaching it twice a day to the truck and detaching it twice a day to a truck. And I have health conditions that make it a little bit more complicated. I guess it would be different if I was younger and I didn't have the problems I do have, or my husband was always available to do it, which isn't the case. So first of all, I would like to ask that you guys consider that as a hardship for me to be able to connect and disconnect and moving it constantly, even though it isn't too far to move. I did have an incident last year while moving it where the trailer actually became detached from the truck as I made the corner at Blue Mountain 156, and I almost lost the trailer to the ditch there, but it was attached with safety chains to the truck where I drug it for about 10 feet, but was able to safely keep it from overturning. So there are complications that happen with any time you're hauling a trailer, regardless of the size of it or what you're hauling inside. That is basically what I would like to, the reason I would like to leave it on site. It also, it looks better sitting there with the tables rather than the tables sitting there all alone by themselves waiting for me to come back. And I like to say I've been a member of the Haslet community since 1983, and I have a servant's heart. I used to be an educator. Now I feel like I'm providing an important service to the families and even visitors to our community. Everyone wants a nice icy treat when it's 100 degrees, and I feel like I'm fulfilling an important part of that to our community. I hope you guys will take that into consideration when you make your decision.
Very good. Council, you got any questions of Ms. Mack? Any questions from Mr. Tedford?
Yeah, Mike, I just, over the past, 2 years outside of, they've been set up there. Has there been any other issues with citations needing to be presented due to, trash or debris left behind where it wasn't cleaned up, outside of operating hours?
The only thing I can think of is they did have an ice merchandiser on site. I did ask them to not bring that back out. It did sit there over time, but they have since taken that away and it hasn't been back.
Okay, thank you.
All right, there's no further questions, council. It's to you to discuss, consider, and act. There's a motion to be made on here.
Mayor Halsey, I'd like to make a motion to approve the appeal for the vendor's permit to locate a vending unit on property located at 1345 FM 156 to operate Sugar Rush Shaved Ice LLC.
Motion is made to approve the appeal of, and to allow the Sugar Rush Shave Ice unit to stay overnight.
Yeah, so if we could revise the motion, because it's really just granting her, not the permit's already been issued, it's giving a variance allowing her to keep the vending unit overnight on the property.
Should I start over and just say, I make a motion to approve the variance?
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the variance for Sugar Rush Shaved Ice LLC to stay overnight.
Motion is made to approve the variance, Sugar Rush Shaved Ice LLC to remain overnight. Is there a second?
Yes, Mayor, I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
just for, I see Mayor Pro Tem's point on the aspect of, you know, we don't want FM 156 up and down the roadway to become a truck, you know, a food truck center. And I know they're becoming more and more popular and everything too. I do agree and stuff, you know, we've done this in the past and I understand your hardship considerations. And I do think that we ought to make sure that we make this stand on its own merit. But I do, you know, again, agree that hopefully that yes, we do not want to have it unless we actually, again, I guess where I'm going is there been any ever talk or discussion of a centralized area? I know many cities have been going to the aspect of having some type of area. And again, we don't need to discuss that now, but I just want it maybe a future item.
Yes, sir. Understood. And I'm glad you said that's not part of this motion or this item.
It's not part of this, but I just want a discussion of it.
You had something?
Should I clarify 6 months for 6 months? I'm sorry.
The permit is already just for 6 months, and that's the standard permit length for.
So that's built
Thank you.
in. All right. Any further discussion? I call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? It's 3-1. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Discuss, consider, and act on approving the tennis court security systems cost and subscription to the court serve, which is software, and authorizing the mayor to execute the ricotta and green marbles proposal. Mr. Tucker. Mr. Tucker will present, and you'll excuse me, please.
Council, we gave a presentation last time on some security upgrades to our tennis courts that included security cameras as well as a locking gate and a reservation application. Tonight we have the pricing for what that would entail to implement. So I have each of these kind of itemized out. The security camera portion of it would be a total initial cost of $16,068.85. That would include technically only 2 cameras, but 1 camera you get a total of 4 as a part of it. So it would provide 360-degree coverage of the courts, and an additional dome camera that would cover the gates themselves that would record people coming and going. And this includes 10 years worth of service and access, and with a 30-day retention. So you could retrieve these recordings 30 days at a time, you know, for the next 10 years. The cameras themselves carry a 10-year warranty as well. So that was really the thought when we looked at the 10-year service agreement, because it would cover the lifespan of the warranted cameras. In addition, the court application themselves, the breakdown is like this. They have ours would be considered 4 courts. That'd be 2 tennis courts and 2 pickleball courts. even though they're not at the same time, but since they be reserved, you do have to consider them that way. So you can reserve each one of those individually. So at any given time, you could have 2 tennis courts or 1 tennis court and 2 pickleball, but that's the reason why there's 4. So this would be a monthly reoccurring cost. And there is an add-on here for the access control. And then green marbles, that is the locking portion of it. Court Reserve uses an API that's hosted by this group here. And so this here would cover the installation of exit devices on the gates, as well as a closure for each one, and the keypad that lets you in and out. We're missing a page here. Oh, here we go. All right, so the total initial implementation cost would be $25,864.35. And then there would be a monthly reoccurring cost of $197. This would cover all the aspects to implement this as a complete solution.
Please go ahead. Any questions for Mr. Tucker?
David, I think on the last time we spoke with this, a few meetings passed and everything else like that, we authorized you to go forth with proposals. Did you go out with more than one, or did we get more responses than just these 2 companies?
So we did not look at other options for court reservation software. There's a handful out there, but very few of them we found implemented anything that would fit a municipal application in a park. Everything else was geared either as reservation only with no locking, or locking with no reservation. So we found that this was the only one that fit the need. It's kind of unique for how we're implementing it, as opposed to a tennis club where they would have a bigger facility that we rented. This was the only one we found that really met the need.
If there's ever a need to expand, these have a 10-year on this, is this system able to expand?
So the way that on the camera portion specifically, that's kind of their pricing model, is that you pay for it per camera. So when you're buying all the storage and retention on each individual camera. So if you want to add an additional camera, it's a standalone add-on. So that price looks like a lot, but like I said, it is breaking it down to, you're getting not only the camera, the service, the cloud-based retention, and the ability to to log in and look through all that.
Again, I guess what I'm sort of questioning, I've gotten some feedback already and everything on the aspect. Yes, we've got the tennis courts that we're looking at cameras, but I've gotten some feedback from some citizens that they'd like to look at if we had to put cameras in other areas of the park, not just for this locking and that type of thing. Do they expand those types of services, or would that be a completely different service?
I didn't understand your question. You're asking about the camera feature itself or the locking?
Well,
He is asked.
Or the basketball court, that's what I was thinking, like the basketball court.
Or basketball. So it doesn't have no lock. Purely.
So these cameras could be added. The requirement would be they would have to be powered in some fashion, so you'd have to have access to power and access to internet.
But
So
this same company could actually
yes,
provide that benefit.
yes, this company is apart from the Court Reserve. They are not tied together.
Okay.
So
Short answer.
Yes. Okay.
It's expanded.
Okay, I have a question. So if it's expandable, do we have to get a separate licensing, or can it fall under the same licensing that we have? Because the licensing out of the $16,700 is for licensing for
So
10 years. So we have to have additional licensing.
it is licensed per camera.
Per camera.
So each camera carries a fee. You can purchase a length of time, and they have some different tiers, or we pick 10 years because it matches the warranty. But you would purchase a single camera, and it would come with its licensing and retention and all that as one.
And are there other municipalities that have used the same type of equipment?
As far as cameras, I do not
Camera.
know.
Okay.
We didn't look for any of that. As far as court reserve, yes. South Lake is the nearest one that we found. I believe San Antonio is the other one.
With respect to court reserve, once it gets set up, what if we decide to change the requirements? Would that be an additional cost, or can we go in
No.
there and adjust at any time?
No, we have power to change those features as we feel
Okay.
necessary.
All right.
James, my question was, what budget line is this coming out of? I mean, is the park board gonna pay the $197 a month? I mean, that makes sense, but, where's this coming out of the budget? Or your mic, sorry.
Right now, we don't have a budget line item for this, and this would be coming out of contingency.
Okay, and then
And-
maybe during
and
budget,
new
we can talk
year, there
about.
would be specific line items to count for these charges.
All right, that was my- Thank you.
Got a quick, James, just on the locking mechanism on the courts themselves, obviously on the inside, you've got, the push bar to open it up. But is there anything that firefighters would have if there's an emergency on the court for them to get easier access into the court rather than ripping the whole gate off the hinges?
That's a good question, actually. That has not occurred to us to look at a secondary method there. We will look at incorporating a Knox box of some sort that will allow for that.
I would imagine that we can incorporate I'll say EMS key code that opens up for emergency access.
It just, something because, no other aspect of a city park is gated and locked like this would be, so they have access to anywhere on city parks, but this being enclosed like this, I just think it's something that needs to be reviewed.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I feel confident that there is a method to implement that. Usually it's done through a Knox solution as well as a key code, absolutely.
All right, good deal. Thank you.
I guess one other question I sort of looked at here too, made me think of there too. Is there any I know that there's a 10-year service warranty, and that's probably for defective parts or that type of thing. Is there any type of maintenance that we need to be thinking about maintaining of this equipment?
The only recurring cost there that isn't in there would be batteries. It is a battery operated device. They typically get 6 months. It is just AA, like a pack there. It would not be seen as as a very high cost to keep up with, but that would be the only reoccurring serviceable thing. The locking mechanism has a very high cycle time. It's made for public places, so it would be expected to last.
And this equipment would be put on our insurance. Of course, this 10 years of service does not cover vandalism or someone knocking out the camera. And did you explain to them we'll have two, I'll call it pods, 2 locations, and each one has 8 cameras?
What they propose to cover everything is slightly different than that. It is a centralized it's a single camera with 4 sensors that will cover the interior of it, and a dome camera, which is slightly different than that one, that will cover the gate and the walkway. That way we get 100% coverage of that.
Okay, so the previous
Correct.
was such as that. But so the consultant has come out, and they did field visit and did an analysis of the court area and all the area to be covered, which is specific to the court area and those entering. Okay, well, good. Did you explain the overall operation of the system?
I did, and we could be happy to answer any other questions about it.
All right.
I did have one more question. So
Yes.
if we vote for this evening, when would be the start date? When would it be installed and people using it?
So we would be looking at a month before we could implement it. From the time we issue POs, it is 3 to 4 weeks for them to schedule and be here. So we would start day one on working on the court reserve and setting that up, getting signage, And then the locks would be really the last thing implemented. We'd make sure that everything else was functional and ready before we kicked that off. But roughly 4 weeks would be what would be required.
One last question, if I may, and this is probably to you, Marcy. I know that this does come from contingency. We've been authorizing quite a bit from contingency here lately. I know this is small dollar, but do we have what that balance or close to what that balance is?
We have ran that balance. You have $660,000 or $660,353 balance contingency right now. That's with taking 3 pre-authorized expenditures out of it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? All right. So inclined, I would ask for a motion.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the tennis court security systems cost and subscription to Court Reserve and authorizing the mayor to execute the Verkada and Green Marbles proposal.
All right. The motion is made to approve the tennis court security systems cost and subscription to Court Serve and authorizing the mayor to execute the Verkada and Green Marbles proposal.
Do I need to add in to use the funds from the contingency
Yes.
and to use the funds from the contingency?
Very good. And to use the funds from contingency. Is there a second?
I second that.
There's a second. Any further discussion? Not a call for the vote. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. All right, item 9, executive session. The city council reserves the right to adjourn into executive session during the course of the meeting to seek legal advice from its attorney regarding any item on the posted agenda as authorized by section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. Additionally, pursuant to provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, City Council may adjourn into executive session in accordance with the authority contained under Section 551.072 and 551.074. At this time, I would like to, it's at 8:21, is recess the open meeting and in 10 minutes convene in the boardroom for executive session. That's not making them look good at all. All right.
So he kind of covered it. He said, if we go to 8, then that'll always cover the third.
All right, then, we resume the open session of the Haslet City Council meeting on May 6th, 2024. Time is 8:55 p.m. All members of the council are present. Item 10, consider and take any action resulting from executive session. There are none. Future agenda items. Council, you have a list of 9 items that are going to be on, that will be on the future agenda items. They are coming. Some of them have dates, so those are absolutely coming. And then 4 others that they may, 1 or 2 may make the 20th. Others will be behind it at other meetings. Does the council have any items put on the future agenda?
Mayor Halsey, I would like to see the Haslet Parkway construction project as it has been, which is where you give the update every meeting. So if you could add that back on, please.
I didn't realize it was left off. Absolutely. All right, any other items? Okay, council, then item 12 is adjourned. May I have a motion?
Mayor Halsey, I move to adjourn.
Motion is made to adjourn. Is there a second?
I second.
There is a second. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. Y'all have a good night. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.